I haven't been this excited to bring you a leveling guide in a long time, maybe even since the insanity of the Legion pre-expansion event. So, here's what's going on. The first season of Midnight is starting to wrap up, and that means that you've probably done most of what you want to do. Blizzard knows that as well, so they've kind of quietly overhauled leveling in the background. And even better, they have made this patch's new content genuinely goddamn amazing for leveling up your alts. Seriously, Showdowns, unlike Void Invasions, grant an eye-watering amount of XP. Between that and the upcoming Turbulent Timeways buff, it is prime time to get your alt army to level 90, and guess what? As you do it, you'll be earning loads of cosmetics, and you'll even be earning loads of power that'll be immediately useful to you at endgame when you hit 90. So, with all that said, welcome to the 1207 edition of our leveling guide. But first, a story you'll find kind of shocking from Blizzard's home state. And that's that California regulators just hit a data broker called National Public Data with the maximum fine, and that's because of a breach that reportedly exposed 2.9 billion records. That's why I run today's sponsor, Incogni. Now, the fine was, by the way, for not registering the data breach, so, that's even worse. And the breach reportedly exposed people's names and social security numbers. That's really bad, and Incogni's really good because they hunt down the data brokers holding your personal information, and they file removal requests on your behalf. That means that people won't be able to go to those data brokers and, buy your information, or if those data brokers happen to be breached, well, your info will have been taken down. But of course, they will recollect if they can, so Incogni continually rescans to ensure your data is kept down. And on the dashboard, you see who's been contacted, who's actually removed you, and where you're still exposed. And if you take a look at my dashboard, you can see that there are hundreds of requests and hundreds of successful ones. Now, they cover a wide range of these outfits, and for me it's important because my name and face are public. My address, lots of other things, they don't need to be. Now look, no one defense is a magical solution. The best defense is a layered one, and I think Incogni is a vital layer to have in your internet defenses. And that's because they can shrink how many brokers are carrying your name, your address, your phone, your email, all around the internet. That just means there's less threat surface area that you are exposed to. Now, viewers of this channel get 60% off the annual plan at incogni.com/bellularwarcraft. That's incogni.com/bellularwarcraft, code bellularwarcraft. The link is down below. With that said, let's get back to it. The most important part of all this is that the two new planets let you in when you're under level 90. And over the course of the PTR, Blizzard made sure they were definitely worth doing. Everything reliably drops strong gear for your current level, and the rares give you more XP than a regular world quest in Quel'Thalas does. But then there's the world quests themselves located on Nagtal and Val, which are even better, because they give you 3 times as much XP as a regular world quest, all while being really close together. And what's crazy is, well, normally you can run out of world quests. But these world quests actually work differently. They work a lot more friendly, actually. Where instead of a few times a week, what happens is new ones spawn around every hour. And unlike Void Assaults, which were technically possible below level 90 but were an utter waste of time, well, here you get the full amount of field accolades, which is a very important currency, and a ton of XP as a bonus. And to give you an idea of just how fast these are, well, we took an almost level 81 character through the intro, the weeklies, and did one full map clear. It took about 45 minutes. Well, it would have been around 40 minutes if one of the boss ads hadn't bugged out and needed to be killed again. Patch day problems. But anyway, we went up well over 2 full levels. Then, logging in about 2 hours later, well, the map was full of world quests again, and they could all be done. And in our gameplay, without doing the weeklies, a second full clear took about 20 minutes, but got us most of a level and well over 100 field accolades. And if you're lucky and you end up sharing a phase with some max level pumpers, well, it'll go even faster. So, for quick bursts of leveling, stacking up rewards in big MMO fashion, as well as, actually getting to play the new content, these 2 new zones are absolutely amazing. But they're not the only parts of this patch that change our leveling. You see, basically everything except campaign speedrunning has been humongously buffed in terms of XP. Prey hunts and weekly rapper quests, including your renown weeklies, give mostly the same XP, and that amount is honestly kind of staggering. It's a lot. Doing any of these things will give you almost a quarter of a level at level 80, and that's before any XP buffs are taken into account. Void Assaults now give twice as much XP as well, though that's not all much use because we've moved on to the Offworld Showdowns. As for other things, the dungeon quests have got buffed as well, but not by very much, and that means that what's still king is the Delver's Call quests. And even more so, because they have almost been doubled. It's ultimately kind of mad, and when we zoom out and look at the whole picture, we see that Blizzard buffed leveling through every method except for just spamming the campaign quests. Now, we've actually got all the numbers, and honestly, all of the numbers are big. Blizzard knows what's up, and now 80 to 90 is both fun and fast. So now that you know all the new information, it's time for the guide bit. Step 1, as with any leveling session, is to remember all of your XP buffs. You'll have some of your Warband buff, which maxes out at 25% once you've got 5 level 90s. Then there's War Mode, which will be 10 to 15% while you're doing world content, though it is a little bit risky on the 2 Offworld Showdown worlds, but most everywhere else, it's kind of free XP. Then there's the Darkmoon Fair's extra 10% that would be nice, but it won't be active until July 5th. Sadly though, the strongest buff of all is not up at the time that I'm recording this video, though it will be up fairly soon. The Turbulent Timeways event starts June 30th, and once it starts, completing 4 time-walking dungeons will land you a rather whopping 30% XP buff. And that means that if the event's active, even if you want to level up your character via other methods, just getting that buff rolling and keeping it active is definitely going to be worth it, both for your XP and the mount that it will help you earn. Okay, that's step 1. Step 2 is the one you're probably more familiar with. It's the Delve World Tour. Look, it's still the best source of XP possible, and the way it works is that at level 80 scaling, you can utterly blitz delves. It's honestly wild. And of course, the Delver's Call quests have been massively buffed. So because of all that, the thing to do is finish all 10 delves after picking up their related quests, which are located inside them. And when choosing difficulty levels, I'd recommend Tier 2. It's much better XP for only a tiny bit more scaling, so it's totally worth doing. You should be able to do all of this in, I don't know, an hour or so, and at the end of this, you'll be at least level 81. That doesn't sound fast, but remember, we're not handing in the Delver's Call quests yet. That's just XP from doing the delves. And with the Warband, Timeways, and War Mode buffs, each quest will give you over a third of a level, all the way up to level 90. So, doing the 10 Delver's Call quests will get you over 4 levels, which means you can hit level 86 first, then go full send in your turn-ins, and when you do that and turn them all in, you will blast your way straight through the slowest part of the leveling curve, and the bit of the leveling curve where the game ends up being the least fun because the scaling, well, just makes you feel weaker. Okay, that's step 2. Step 3 then is to take your pick of how to do level 81 through to 86. And once you've done your World Tour of Delves, this is all you really actually need to do manually. And thankfully, this is where it gets the most interesting. Blizzard's buffet philosophy, the one they applied to gearing, is very much coming in hot here because there are so many ways to level up. It's kind of wild. But I'll caution you on one thing. At this point, the fastest way to level is not necessarily the best choice. The best choice is going to be far more about what you actually need in your characters. So if hitting level 90 ASAP is your only focus, then perfecting the follow the arrow campaign route is still the quickest way to do that. That's because it's a constant torrent of XP that you can do faster and faster and faster as you get more skilled. The cutscene skipping and very easy click for items quests are really quite hard to beat, but it's not what I'll be doing. If you want to actually play the game at level 90, you're going to need some stuff. Stuff like gear and field accolades, plus experience actually playing your class. And that's why, for this step, there's a few options you can make. Your first choice is Showdowns. If Blizzard are still calling them that, who knows, they've been a little bit weird with how they name their features. Anyway, the best way to do these is to do the quick little intro, to then clear the weeklies, and then clear the world quests on the map. After that, you can run around hunting down rares, or just do something else until the world quests respawn, and they respawn in the hour. Now, thinking purely about speed, the world quest spawn timing can sometimes screw you a bit, and the biggest burst of XP is doing your weeklies. Ranking-wise, it's about a B, plus it's also scaled to be actual content at level 80. You know, instead of the Quel'Thalas mobs that explode at the very thought of being near a player. And this is why we have the brain off category. You don't have to totally lock in, but you are doing new content on a dense world without flying. So if you want brain off gameplay, it probably comes in at about a C in terms of our ranking. But the good news about it is, it massively sets you up on the gameplay front. And that's not just because you're playing your class fully and constantly. No, it's because they've got some really cool vehicle world quests and some really fun physics traversal stuff as well. There's also a lot of room for big pools and efficient dynamic pathing, so from a WoW leveling gameplay perspective, honestly, it gets a solid S. I'd personally recommend leveling this way for all of those reasons. And then of course, there's rewards. They're really good. The gear that drops from this feature is actually scaled pretty damn highly as you go, especially compared to other methods, so your character won't feel radically weak as it levels up. More importantly, you'll get plenty of field accolades, and you'll want those for hero gear boxes, and of course a bunch of cosmetics up at level 90. As you do this, you'll also be earning achievements from this new content, which really means you are knocking out so many birds with one really big stone. So on the rewards front, I've got to rank it an S tier. And overall, I mean, it's just obviously the choice in my opinion. But there is another one. The second choice is prey. You can endlessly repeat prey hunts on normal from level 81 to 86, and every one of them now nets you a massive portion of a level. Now, you might be wondering how fast they are, and the good news is that once you get it down, it is really fast. On the speed front, I'm going to give it an A rank. But on the can I turn my brain off front, it is a little bit mixed. When you're just flying around, clicking in traps and things, it's super easy, but you do have to be vigilant at all times to max out your speed. So on the brain front, I'm probably going to give it a B. As for the gameplay, well, you get to see sights a little more dynamically, but still a whole load of flying around, and normal mode prey bosses fold like rice paper. So I'll give it a B in that front. But on rewards, oh, it's getting an A, because you also get coffer key shards and, of course, all of these boxes of assorted stuff that's mostly useful. The third choice, then, is the classic old questing speedrun. In terms of speed, this one gets S tier, it's blazing fast, and it's also mostly effortless. So, in Brain Off, it gets an A for just doing Follow the Arrow. The add-on, Follow the Arrow, which really does let you turn your brain off. Now, on the gameplay front, by which I mean you getting to learn and enjoy your spec, it's a C, maybe a D, it's pretty boring. And on the rewards front, I'm going to give it a C. It's just XP, mediocre gear, and a pittance of gold. Now, you do have a fourth choice, which is dungeons, but at this point they are barely even good for practicing your class. I would say just do not bother. Even the buff dungeon quests just are not worth the time sink. If Blizzard wants dungeons to be viable for leveling, they really need to buff dungeon mob XP and increase the quest XP. So dungeons get a D in every category. But then lastly, there's a secret, speedier option, but you're going to be mad at me. So, it's this. Do the original Renown weeklies. They take almost zero time, and they give you about a third of a level each. Just skip the Stormarian Assault one, please. That's obviously not worth the time just spent sitting there waiting for things. So, bringing it all together, pick one or just mix and match from these options and get yourself to level 86. Personally, I think doing Showdown World quests, then a few prays, and then returning to the Showdown World once the quests have respawned is pretty much the best way to do it. But however you choose, hit level 86 and then move on to step 4, which is hit level 90, and I really do mean that. What you'll want to do is make sure War Mode is turned on and then hand in all of the Delver's Call quests. Do that, and you will be level 90. Now, you could stop a little earlier, like say the middle of level 85, and then you could fill in the 89 through to 90 gap with first-time craft bonuses. That's something we've recommended in this channel before, but honestly, with all of these stacked buffs, the increased XP, the new rewards, come on, you may as well just play the game a tiny bit more instead of fiddling around with some crafts. And overall, what I'd say is that with all of the buffs going, I would not be surprised if you're able to hit 90 in under 4 hours from level 80. Now, if you're willing to lock in and go fast, it can be even faster. I'd say under 3 hours is possible. But the best part of this isn't the leveling speed, it's the fact that you'll start level 90 with loads of resources, and maybe even enough of those resources to start buying loads and loads of champion gear and maybe even some hero gear. So if you want to learn how to gear up your fresh 90s, well, conveniently, we have a guide that's going to help you with all of that and let you put the field accolades you've earned from this guide, from leveling up your characters, to good use.